let us see something interesting on the screen, please.
AIMA works as an overall India-wide organization for management. It has for long supported, promoted and nurtured the management movement, and it's also reached overseas to try and connect the world with India as well.
So whether you're a young student out there or whether you're a practicing professional, I think being a member of AIMA will give you a huge network, will give you a huge range of new concepts, and it gets you access to events where you really get to meet some of the best and the finest speakers in the country from whom you can learn.
You know, every manager needs to be updated in terms of the latest techniques, the latest thinking, the latest direction. You update yourself in various aspects of disciplines that one is involved in.
Continuous skill development, continuous education is a necessity for everybody.
AIMA has been known for its testing services. For instance, the management aptitude test, which is very popular, of late catering to admissions and also to recruitment services.
Now it's time from the welcome address.
Hi everyone. Honorable dignitaries, excellencies, diplomats, members of All India Management Association and Qatar Indian Management Association, respected professional managers, distinguished invitees, a very good evening and warm greetings from Qatar Indian Management Association, which is known as QIMA. QIMA is a leading forum for Indian management professionals in Qatar, formed in 2001 and is affiliated to All India Management Association, AIMA. AIMA is the apex body of management associations in India and has been creating a platform for knowledge exchange and networking for over 67 years. AIMA has got about 40,000 professional members, 6,000 corporate members, and 67 local management associations registered under it. QIMA is the first management association outside India affiliated to AIMA. And we are very proud to be part of such an esteemed and elite body which has international recognitions. We are celebrating our 23rd Foundation Day event today, which is in conjunction with 67th Foundation Day of AIMA. The theme for this year's event is Managing the Unprecedented, Harnessing the Uncertainty. We were witnessing turbulence and uncertainty over the past few years worldwide. And now we are getting prepared to wake up after harnessing the uncertainty. The topic assumes great importance in this scenario. QIMA is preparing to refocus its activities with new vigor. In this context, we have launched a new logo which was unveiled by His Excellency Muhammad Mahfuz Mohiuddin, the Ambassador of Sri Lanka to Qatar last week. The Foundation Day event will feature an esteemed lineup of dignitaries. And our dignitaries today are Mr. Shivakumar, past president of AIMA, former chairman of PepsiCo India, CEO Emerging Markets Nokia, and Mr. Max Tunon, he is the head of International Labour Organization in Qatar. Dr. Prabir Kumar Das, he is the Assistant Director of AIMA. Mr. Brian Buckley, Principal AFG College with Aberdeen University, Qatar. Dr. Khalid Al-Kuwari, CEO of Al Diyar Group of Companies, Qatar. Mr. Nishad Azim, founder and CEO of Coastal Group, Qatar. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Shivakumar, and we are grateful to him for accepting our invitation to be the keynote speaker on the theme and inspire the professional managers by his usual motivational management lessons. On behalf of QIMA, I wish to extend a warm and cordial welcome to Honorable Shivakumar to today's event. Mr. Max Tunon is arriving very soon. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Max Tunon as our chief guest and for formally inaugurating the Foundation Day event. We extend a very warm and cordial welcome to Mr. Tunon to today's event. Dr. Prabir Kumar Das has always been supportive of QIMA for all our professional activities. We are so happy to have him today amidst us, and we extend him a very cordial welcome. We extend a warm welcome to Mr. Brian Buckley, who is imparting management education to the future managers of Qatar as our guest of honor for the Foundation Day. We are very happy to introduce two prominent business personalities, Dr. Khalid Al-Kuwari and Mr. Nishad Azim, who will be delivering their case study speeches based on the theme. We extend a warm welcome to Dr. Khalid and Mr. Nishad. QIMA welcomes all the distinguished guests present here today, and thank you for accepting our invitation and offering their best participation and support. I do welcome Dr. Nizar Kocheri and all my colleagues from QIMA and AIMA who were instrumental in organizing this event professionally. With this, I conclude the responsibility of welcoming the dignitaries bestowed upon me and wish all the very best for the success of QIMA's 23rd Foundation Day event. I welcome our chairman and founder president, Dr. Nizar Kocheri, to take us through the past two decades of QIMA. Dr. Nizar, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Mr. Salim. Mr. Shivakumar, past president of AIMA, former chairman PepsiCo, former CEO of emerging markets Nokia. Mr. Max, he will be arriving soon, head of ILO project office in Doha. Mr. Prabir Kumar Das, assistant director LMA relations AIMA. Mr. Das, you may be remembering our signing of LMA charter in Delhi in 2004. Dr. Khalid Al-Kuwairi, CEO Al-Diyar Group of Companies. Mr. Nishad Asim, founder and CEO of Coastal Group of Companies. Mr. Brian Buckley, principal AFG College with the University of Aberdeen. Members of the management fraternity. Distinguished representatives of various professional organizations. Corporates, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Today happens to be a very special day in the history of QIMA. 22 years ago, that for the first time in the history, Indian Management Association was established exclusively to cater the management development movement in the region. Over the last 22 years, QIMA has remained in the forefront in the way that no other institution has ever done before. QIMA has been constantly striving to play a constructive role in fulfilling this mission. QIMA's 23rd Foundation Day provides us a chance to not merely celebrate 22 years of the steady growth and evolution of the organization, but also the opportunity to pause and effect on 22 years of transformation that has overtaken both the organization and the fraternity that it sought to serve. It is the moment to express gratitude to the remarkable members who work tirelessly in the mission of QIMA. Colleagues, with a mission to facilitate individuals and organizations to realize their potential, the All India Management Association, AIMA, since last 6 decades has been working closely with industry, government, academia, and other activists to further the cause of management profession in India. At present, AIMA has 37,000 individual members and close to 6,000 corporate institutional members through 68 local management associations affiliated to it. Looking back on the glorious journey of QIMA, 22 years ago, Mr. T.T. Thomas, the then president of AIMA, inaugurated the formation of QIMA. Let's go to a glimpse of the past. QIMA and the Middle East Indian Management Association. We have an apex body, Middle East Indian Management Association. We are working under the aegis of the Embassy of India, State of Qatar. And Dr. George Joseph, I remember him with the gratitude that he has extended much assistance in establishing these two organizations in Doha. This association was inaugurated by T.T. Thomas, the president of AIMA, managing director of Fertilizers and Chemicals Travancore Limited in India. And Dr. Ashok Amrohi, Charge of Affairs of Embassy of India, and Juma Ismail Boyanan, Director Administration of Qatar Energy, participated in that event. Then we started with the management conventions. The first management convention with the theme, Winning Amidst Unexpected Unknowns. Keynote address was by Mr. K. Jairaj, IAS. He was the principal secretary to S.M. Krishna when he was the Chief Minister of Karnataka. And Mr. Ranjan Matai, His Excellency Ambassador of India Major General D.N. Khurana, Director General of AIMA, Mr. Shyamananda Suman, His Excellency Ambassador, Royal Nepalese Embassy, participated and contributed in the event. Then our second management convention with the theme Knowledge Economy, then keynote address by Mr. Uddesh Kohli, the President of AIMA, who was the Secretary General to IFTTO, Chairman Engineering Council of India, Chairman Construction Industry Development Council. The inauguration was by Mr. Ranjan Matai, His Excellency Ambassador of India that time. Then another seminar we conducted with the management seminar, Recognize the Hero Within You. The keynote address was by Mr. R. Srinivasan, a management consultant in Mumbai. Then inauguration was by Mr. M.C. Naithyani, the Councillor, Embassy of India. Later, the management convention with the theme Management Mindset, a Global Perspective. And the keynote address was by R. Gopalakrishnan, President of AIMA and Director Tata Sons. Then in that event, Mr. James Fielder, Operations Manager of Qatar Gas 3 Venture, ConocoPhillips Qatar, and Mr. Ian Harrison, Management Consultant. He gave a presentation on 21st century leadership. Where have all these leaders gone? Then our fourth management convention, Best of the Best, Spirit of the Challenger. The keynote address was by Mr. Sunil Alek, the President of AIMA, and he was the man of Britannia. And the speakers were Mr. Faisal Al-Suwaidi of Qatar Gas, Dr. Sheikh Al-Misnad, President of Qatar University and Director of Qatar Foundation. Then the fifth management convention, theme with Winning the New Future, Building Global Strategies. Keynote address was by Dr. J.J. Irani, the Tata Steel man, the steel man of India, and Mr. Dr. P. Muhammad Ali, MD of Gulfar Group of Companies, and Mr. Oravi Veerasamban, His Excellency Ambassador of Thai Embassy, Mr. Ku Jafar Kushari, His Excellency Ambassador of Malaysian Embassy, participated and contributed in the event. Then we organized a regional conference in Sharjah, the management in the new millennium, creating an innovative mindset. And the keynote address was by Dr. J.J. Irani, President of AMO, Asian Association of Management Organizations. Therein, Dr. Abdullah Al-Karam, CEO of Dubai Knowledge Village, he presented a paper on Knowledge Village, transforming the region into a knowledge economy. And Mr. Sida Raman, CEO of Doha Bank, he gave a presentation on creating innovative mindset. Then the next Management Excellence Program we organized here, that is one of the flagship program of QIMA, Qatar, a development model. We did a wonderful study on Qatar and we have gave very good presentations on that day. And the speakers were Mr. Ramchandran, the General Manager of Commercial Bank, he gave the keynote address, and Mr. Muhammad Jassim Muhammad Ahmed Al-Bakar, the Director of Musaid Industrial City Development and Infrastructure, he gave a presentation on development and infrastructure. Then Dr. G.R.N. Shastri, Advisor to the Department of Industry Development, he gave a presentation on development industries. And Dr. Trent Key, President College North Atlantic Qatar, he gave a presentation on development knowledge. And this was the part one of our program, Qatar, a development model. Then we organized a convention, Managing Growth, Challenging Environment. This was inaugurated by Sheikh Hamad bin Khanim bin Muhammad bin Jasim Al Thani. The keynote address was by Mr. Sunil Alek, President of AIMA. Then the chief guest was Mrs. Deepa Gopalan Wadhwa, His Excellency Ambassador of India, and Mr. Dr. Mahim Mendis, Dean of Open University in Sri Lanka, and the message was by Mr. Panyark of His Excellency Thailand. They contributed and they shared their views in the presentation. Then we organized a program, a variety program, financial reforms in India. So we have made a deliberation on financial reforms proposed by Mr. Raghuram Rajan, and this program was inaugurated by Dr. George Joseph, Ambassador of India. Then keynote address was by Dr. Sida Raman and Mr. Kalyana Sundaram, the General Manager of IT, Bank of India. So there are many events in between, then I don't want to take your time more. This is a brief about what is QIMA and what is Middle East Indian Management Association. And we proposed All India Management Association to have a tie-up with Qatar Foundation to establish a knowledge place in Qatar Foundation. And Mr. Sunil Alek has taken this point to Sheikha Misnad at the time, and the proposal is in progress. At the same time, we have, as I mentioned, we had a program in Sharjah, and in the Sharjah program, we met to the Knowledge Village professionals in the program, and we offered a program to management education services to Dr. Ayub Qasim, the Executive Director of Dubai Knowledge Village, during the first regional conference in Sharjah. Then our plan is to be the leader in management development movement in the region, to be favorite choice of professional bodies, diplomatic centers, and business world, and to establish business schools and management training centers in the region. And the guiding principles, as I said, commitment, teamwork, integrity, and all these things normally used. Friends, QIMA has grown and evolved over the past 23 years. On behalf of QIMA, I once again extend a warm and cordial welcome to each and everyone present here to the QIMA's 23rd Foundation Day and AIMA's 67th Foundation Day. My dear friends, let me give a reminder. The goal of economic activity can never be profits alone. Profits that seek to create wealth only for individuals ultimately end up creating vast inequalities. It is therefore necessary that people who manage business orient themselves to the larger goal or of not only personal benefits but also creation of social wealth and more opportunities to the economic growth of the greatest numbers. As management professionals, we will be failing in our role if we were to overlook these aspects of management. Let me conclude. In the 3rd century AD, a king in China sent his son, the future ruler, to the temple for education. The master asked the young man to go and live in the forest for a year and come back to tell what he heard there. On his return, he told, I could hear the cuckoos sing, the leaves rustle, the hummingbirds hum, the crickets chirp, the grass blow, the bees buzz, and wind whisper and holler. He was asked to go back to listen to what more he could hear. This time he came back and told, when I listened more closely, I could hear the unheard. The sound of the flowers opening, the sound of the sun warming the earth, the sound of the grass drinking the morning dew. The master said, to hear the unheard is a necessary discipline to be a good ruler. For only when the ruler has learned to listen closely to the people's hearts, hearing their feelings uncommunicated, pains unexpressed, and complaints not spoken of, can he hope to inspire confidence in his people. Understand when something is wrong and meet the true needs of his citizens. The demise of the states comes when leaders listen only to the superficial words and do not penetrate deeply into the souls of the people to hear their true opinions, feelings, and desires. Today, we are going to hear the unheard, managing the unprecedented, harnessing uncertainty, from Mr. Shivakumar, Dr. Kuwari, Mr. Nishad, and others. Thank you one and all for the wholehearted support extended to QIMA for the last 22 years and hope the same will continue for years to come. I welcome Mr. Max. He is here, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that inauguration address and welcome address, as well as you took us to the journey of QIMA in Qatar. Thank you so much for this. With this, there are some video messages. Let us hear from Mr. T.T. Thomas, past President AIMA and former MD, Fertilizers and Chemicals, Tramanco. Please.
Friends, I am very happy to be with you on the occasion of the 23rd Foundation Day celebrations of QIMA. 23 years ago, I had the privilege of standing before you and inaugurating the Qatar Indian Management Association. The motivation behind starting an association outside India was the belief that management is borderless, it cuts across nationalities, cultures, religions, and all other divisive thoughts of mankind. Supporting a management movement was therefore a step in the direction of global cooperation. Believing in that, when Mr. Nisar Kocheri approached us for starting an affiliated unit in Qatar. We readily agreed, and that is how this association was formed. Since then, you have made a rapid progress and have done exceedingly well, overcoming the initial formative years of problems. I am sure that the association will continue to grow and will be a great success.
Now let us hear from Mr. Sulin Aleg, past President, AIMA.
I am delighted to learn of the 23rd Foundation Day of QIMA. I fondly remember when it was your 10th anniversary when I was requested to address it. And I remember that it was my first visit to Doha, and I quite recall that your country and you have taken giant steps since then. It is amazing to see how Qatar has found its place in the world and how Nizar has taken giant steps in the area of Indian Management Association. I wish it all possible success, and I rely on innovative leadership of Nizar to take it forward. Thank you so much.
Now let us listen to Major General D.N. Khurana, past Director General, AIMA.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to convey my greetings and congratulations to Qatar Indian Management Association on this auspicious day, their Foundation Day. My pleasure is even greater because I vividly remember the day when Mr. Nizar Kocheri came to meet me in Delhi, where I was the Director General of All India Management Association. He discussed with me his desire to set up a management association in Qatar for the Indian community, for the vast Indian community, so as their contribution to the Qatar economy could be even greater. I was extremely impressed by his passion, zeal and commitment, and I promised him all the support for this noble cause. Thus was born the Qatar Indian Management Association. It has since come a long way. Initially, AIMA gave them the status of a local management association at par with 50 odd local management associations in the country. And later, seeing their commitments, and it has since come a long way. And initially, AIMA gave them the status of a local management association at par with the 50 odd local management associations in the country. And later, when we found how active they were, we recommended to AMO, Asian Association of Management Organizations, which is the apex body of professional management in Asia Pacific region, and they granted them the status of associate member. I'd like to compliment QIMA for the great contribution for enhancement of competence of entrepreneurs and professional managers, not only in Qatar, but in the entire Middle East through their diverse activities and collaborations. Today, the world environment is extremely complex, volatile, uncertain, and rapidly changing, driven by the technology. It is extremely important for the professionals and entrepreneurs to keep ahead of the curve. As a matter of fact, the differentiating factor today, the new skills and management tools have to be constantly adapted. As a matter of fact, the new mantra today for the professionals is to learn, unlearn and relearn. And that is where QIMA is providing them the requisite platform. Today's world, knowledge, innovation and networking with the new skills is the differentiating factor between the successful and not so successful organizations. This requires that the Management Association keeps its vast network of collaborations and picks up the best practices from wherever they are available. And I'm very glad that QIMA is doing exactly that. The team selected by the QIMA today for today's event is extremely apt and contemporary. I'm sure the deliberations will provide a lot of value addition to all those participating and all those who might listen to the deliberations later. I wish the event a great success. And I also wish QIMA all the success and glory in the years to come in their service to the professional management and entrepreneurs, not only the Indians, but to the country, Qatar. Thank you.
Why are you all so serious? Smile is the universal language, right? With this, let us move on to the next session, is to welcome our dignitaries. To do this honor, I would request our QIMA Chairman, President and General Secretary to escort the dignitaries on the stage, please. Mr. Shivakumar, past President AIMA, Mr. Max Tunon, Head of ILO Project Office for the State of Qatar, Mr. Prabir Kumar Das, Assistant Director, LMA Relationship and Membership, AIMA, Mr. Khalid Al-Khouari, CEO, Al-Dair Group of Companies, Mr. Nishad Azim, Founder and CEO, Coastal, and Mr. Brian Bhakhi, Principal, AFS College. Thank you so much, sir. Your presence has made this evening memorable. Thank you so much. With this, let me invite a gentleman who is Head of ILO Project Office for the State of Qatar, Mr. Max Tunon, for the inaugural address.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I am delighted to be with you this evening to mark the Foundation Day for the Qatar India Management Association. As is very evident, QIMA is well-established, indeed well-respected institution, which plays an important role in society and indeed in the economy of the country here in Qatar. I'm going to make just a few remarks. I'll keep it very brief. I represent the International Labour Organization here in Doha. And as you may know, the ILO is a tripartite organization made up of governments, workers' organizations, and employers' organizations. And we respond to the needs of our constituents in 187 countries around the world. In Qatar, we've been working closely with the government and other partners to introduce a range of labor reforms over the past 4 to 5 years. And in that time, we've seen significant developments, but we all recognize that this is still a work in progress. And you, as management professionals, also know that building institutions takes time, changing mindsets takes time. In Qatar, our focus so far has been on advancing labor rights and also in building more modern labor relations. Going forward, as we look beyond 2023, we also need to project and anticipate how governments, workers, and employers can prepare for what the future of work holds. It has been mentioned already that labor markets, labor relations around the world are changing rapidly with technologies, globalization, migration, the changing priorities of young people entering the labor market. In Qatar, I think we can look at 4 key trends coming down the track, perhaps not tomorrow in the immediate future, but certainly in the near future, in the years to come. Number 1, we know that the economy is changing. There has been over a decade of investment in infrastructure in the construction sector, and in the coming years, new sectors will be prioritized. Number 2, in the drive to build a knowledge-based economy, workers will need to demonstrate certified skills. And just as jobs are not static, skills cannot remain static. And lifelong learning will be important. Now, the ILO has a lot of experience in this space, but not so much in countries built with temporary labor migration regimes. So this is an area where we can anticipate a lot of change, a lot of innovation. Perhaps the solution will lie in my point 3, new visa arrangements, new working arrangements, which will be needed as the country aims to attract more and more global talent. And fourthly, we can anticipate more nationalization of the labor market, perhaps not in the same way that we are seeing in neighboring countries, in Saudi Arabia and Oman, but we know that the labor market will remain segmented in many ways, but companies must also be prepared increasingly for more Qatari nationals in the private sector, and this complementarity needs to be well planned for. We believe that the QIMA and the members have an important role to play in these labor reforms as change agents, in advancing labor rights, but also in building more modern labor relations and a more dynamic labor market. At the ILO, our role is to promote social dialogue and bring the actors of the economy, workers, employers, and governments together. We hope that QIMA, as an institution with an important constituency, we hope that QIMA can be part of that social dialogue to shape some of the laws, policies, and programs needed to prepare for the future of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that inaugural address. Now let us move on. These days, everything speaks on screen, right? And that QIMA will also speak on screen from now. Let's invite Mr. Shivakumar for the launch of a website.
Just press this? Yes. That's it? Yes. Okay. So this is the website launch, I'm told, and I have the honor of doing this for QIMA. Yep. Come on. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shivakumar. With this, the next in line is the felicitation speech by Mr. Brian Buckley, Principal, APG College with the University of Aberdeen.
Thank you. Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is my absolute pleasure to be invited as a guest of the 23rd Foundation event and the 67th Foundation Day of the All India Management Association. The Qatar body of the Indian Management Association was established here in Qatar in 2001 and notably the first international affiliated Indian Management Association outside of India, thus demonstrating AIMA's commitment to the internationalization of its vision and values. Qatar's economic success would not be where it is today without the dynamic and entrepreneurial spirit of its Indian community and its business leaders. Wherever you travel in Qatar, you will see evidence of the Indian community's impact on the commercial and educational success of this amazing country. Whether it be in the legal field, retail, construction, education at all levels, and moreover frontline employees supporting the eclectic mix of public and private sector organisations here in Qatar. It may be fair to say that no other expat community has had such a positive impact on supporting the development of this great country. Managing the unprecedented, harnessing the uncertainty is this year's AIMA's theme. A very poignant theme, particularly as global markets and industry are struggling to redefine their strategies in a post-COVID world. A challenge that I am sure will be welcomed by many Indian-led organisations here in Qatar. Historically, the leaders of these organisations have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability and have proven to thrive during uncertain times. The future of your organisations is bright. Continue to adapt to the unprecedented and embrace uncertainty, as this leads to positive and effective change. Thank you.
With this, we come to an end of inaugural session. I request the leadership team to lead the dignitaries onto the chair. Any event is successful because of members and the attendees. And moreover, there is something much important. It's our sponsors. Without sponsors, it is very difficult to have an event. Right? You all agree with me? Let us appreciate our sponsors. Pipeline Supplies and Services Company, Gulfar Al Misnar, KIMS Health Medical Center. These three are the main sponsors for this event. We have two support sponsors, Postmasters Qatar and Gitco Group. Can we have a round of applause for them? Thank you. Now let us move on to the convention session. We have two video messages. Let us look into it. The first would be by President AIMA, Mr. Srinivas V. Dempo. Let us listen to it.
Let me start by congratulating the Qatar India Management Association on celebrating its 23rd Foundation Day. AIMA is pleased to have Qatar India Management Association as its foreign affiliate, and it is indeed very satisfying for all of us at AIMA to see its very first overseas cooperating member, nearing a quarter of a century and getting stronger all the time. I compliment QIMA for its tremendous commitment to the cause of management and for serving the expatriate Indian entrepreneurs and managers in Qatar. My special compliments to the leadership, especially QIMA President Mr. Salim M. Abdul Karim and his General Secretary Mr. Sheldon Victor for providing outstanding leadership to the association and sustaining an important platform where Indian diaspora can network and share the best management practices. You exemplify India's growing contribution to the world's business leadership talent, and I'm pleased that you're mobilizing and enabling fellow Indian expats to learn and share the latest management innovations. I appreciate that QIMA is celebrating its Foundation Day by focusing on a most important and urgent management issues that all of us are faced with, which is finding ways to manage the unprecedented and harness the uncertainty. In recent years, the world has been subjected to many sudden and sweeping crises, which have challenged the established management dogmas and practices. Not only have these crises disrupted the normal, these have created deep anxiety about the present and radical uncertainty about the future. Business leaders till date are struggling to deal with the after effects of COVID pandemic and disruption of supply chains. Now, they are also searching for ways to deal with the escalating territorial and economic conflicts, as well as the sharp swings in monetary, industrial and trade policies across the world. Amid all this chaos and confusion, business leaders also have to contend with rapid and radical changes in technology. While all these challenges may seem overwhelming, the ongoing change and uncertainty are also an unprecedented opportunity for business innovation and growth. And business leaders need to focus on the potential of the new instead of regretting the loss of the old. Better and still cheaper ways have to be found to meet the traditional needs of consumers and businesses, and new solutions have to be invented to meet the new needs. Organizations have to adopt shape-shifting approach to products, partnerships, systems, and processes and deliver ever new solutions and gratifications. I'm pleased that my good friend and AIMA past president and management guru, Shiv, is addressing QIMA on this important occasion. I'm sure that everybody at QIMA will enjoy listening to him as much as I have enjoyed at every session that I've been with Shiv and learn from his extensive leadership expertise. I thank Shiv for agreeing to deliver today's keynote. QIMA's Foundation Day celebrations are a great opportunity for renewing its bonds with the parent organization AIMA, and I'm looking forward to greater engagement with your association in the future. Best wishes for today's event and good luck for all the future events of QIMA. Thank you.
Now let us listen to Ms. Rekha Sethi, Director General, AIMA.
Many congratulations to Qatar Indian Management Association on its 23rd Foundation Day. Qatar Indian Management Association is a valued cooperating member of the AIMA network and an important foreign affiliate. AIMA appreciates the association's outstanding service to the Indian management fraternity in Qatar. It has shown excellent commitment to promoting new and effective management practices, and it has become a preferred platform for business leaders to come together and learn from each other. Inaugurated by the AIMA past president, Mr. T.T. Thomas, in 2001, Qatar Indian Management Association became the first foreign management organization in AIMA's affiliate network, and it has gone on to become an important forum for the Indian business diaspora in West Asia. In fact, Qatar Indian Management Association provided the template for the formation of another important foreign affiliate of AIMA in Mauritius. Many compliments to all members of the Qatar Indian Management Association, particularly Mr. Salim M. Abdul Karim, President QIMA, and Mr. Sheldon Victor, General Secretary, for their energetic efforts to promote and recognize management excellence. It is exciting to see Indian entrepreneurs and managers making a special contribution both to their host country as well as the country of their origin. I'm pleased that the Qatar Indian Management Association is celebrating its Foundation Day by holding a discussion on the theme of AIMA's own Foundation Day, which is managing the unprecedented, harnessing the uncertainty. Given the rising frequency and coincidence of unpredictable crises, it is the responsibility of the leaders to see through the fog and steer the organization towards safety and growth. I thank Mr. Shivakumar, past President AIMA, for delivering the keynote of the program. My best wishes to everyone at QIMA on this very special occasion. Thank you.
Lifelong learning should be one of the core values of any organization. to take this meeting forward, we are interested in hearing some keynote speeches. We have a person who is very special. He was the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo, company holding CEO of emerging markets at Nokia. These were his previous appointments. But what was interesting to me when I looked at his profile is something different. He is a management thinker, a business transformation, leadership coach, business identification, whatnot. One session is not enough to brief this gentleman. Put your hands together to welcome Mr. Shivakumar for the keynote address.
It's here. No, click up. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, that's forward. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is forward. Here's my slide. Yep. Okay, good evening, Qatar India Management Association. Oh, where's the slide? What have I done? I'm moving. Which one? I'm moving there. Ah, correct. So, good evening, Qatar India Management Association. Good evening, all the dignitaries. Good evening, the academics in this room, and good evening, all the professionals in this room. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to be here on your 23rd Foundation Day to do this session for you on a topic on which I will give you my take and my thoughts on it. And anytime you see my slides or my speeches, there's nothing which is borrowed from anybody. There's nothing which is theoretical. It is my practical experience which will speak to you through these 20-odd slides. I must congratulate the people behind the Qatar India Management Association. They've been extremely gracious hosts. They picked me from the airport yesterday. We had dinner with the management team yesterday, and even today. Outstanding bunch of people, and I have absolutely no doubt that under your leadership, all of you will do exceedingly well in the coming years, and I really hope that you will have a fantastic Silver Jubilee 2 years from now. Okay, so let's go to the topic, unprecedented and uncertain. Now, if you look at simple definitions of unprecedented and uncertain, okay, unprecedented is never done before, as simple as that. Didn't happen before, might not happen again, might happen again, don't know. But an event or an occasion or something which has just not happened. Like a silver jubilee will be an unprecedented occasion. A golden jubilee will be an unprecedented occasion. An inauguration is an unprecedented occasion. Okay, each of them. Next, uncertainty, and there's a lot of it. Okay, harnessing uncertainty means that you look at all the data in front of you, look at the context, the situation, and say, what can I do to turn this into a positive? How can I take all this uncertainty and plan something which is of value to me as an individual, to me as a corporation or an institution, to me as a country, or to us as the world? Okay, there's a lot of uncertainty. How do you tap into that? Okay, so that's what harnessing uncertainty means. Okay. First thing is, unprecedented can be both good and bad. Unprecedented need not necessarily be only bad. It can also be good. And you have to look at it in both ways. And only when you look at it in both ways will you truly understand what unprecedented means to you or to your institution. Okay? I just put together a bunch of numbers, about 6 numbers, to tell you what has happened in the world since 1973. 1973 was the first big oil crash, if all of you remember. Okay, and the world after that changed for good or for bad. Some people will say good, some people will say bad, but it changed forever. Let me give you a few stats from 1973 to 2023 and see, and you check for yourself whether my reading of unprecedented is right or wrong. Let's look at world population. In 1973 was a little under 4 billion. Today it's about 8 billion. So the world population has doubled in 50 years. The rate of growth of world population has dropped. Okay? Earlier we would say population was a big challenge to the world. The rate of growth of population has dropped. Why? More women are marrying later. Okay, more couples are having fewer kids. That's the reason it's happened. Okay, so is it unprecedented? In my book, no. Okay, a growth rate of less than 2% of the global population is absolutely fine. It's the right thing. It's not unprecedented at a global stage, and I think that's absolutely fine. Second number I want you to look at, let's look at world GDP. It was 4.7 trillion 50 years ago. Round it off to 5. Today it is 100 trillion, give or take a few. 96.5, 97, somebody will say, but I've just rounded it off to 100. From 5 to 100 in 50 years, that's 20 times growth in 50 years. Is it unprecedented? Absolutely yes. So we're seeing a huge boom in the economy side, especially on the services side. That's what's really driving it. Okay? Third number you look at global per capita income. 50 years ago, the global per capita was $1,200. Today it's $12,000. So the world is a middle income country. The world is a middle income country, $12,000. So per capita income has grown 10 times, has multiplied 10 times in 50 years. That's also very good. It's huge, it's unprecedented, not small. Next, let's look at immigration. Hot topic, everybody talks about it across the world right now. I just put down the number of immigrants in 1973, 82 million. Today the number of immigrants is 243. Look at it in this way. The world population has doubled, the immigrant population has tripled. So actually the world has been freer on immigration over the last 50 years than ever before. Contrary to all the stuff you see, what you see right now is the near term, what's happening. But if you take a longer horizon of 50 years, immigration has been actually a very good thing. Why is immigration an important point? Because in many countries, if you do not get people in, you will have to enhance retirement age. You will not get the skills, you will not get the capital. So in many countries, immigration is actually a good thing. In many countries, immigration is good for that economy and for that country. Okay? Otherwise, a number of local factors need to change. Let's look at carbon emissions, big topic. If you look at it, it was 20 million. There's no data for 1973, incidentally. This is all World Bank data. There's no data from the World Bank for carbon emissions in 1973. The earliest recorded data is 1990. 20 million kilotons of carbon emission. Today it's 34 million. It's doubled in 30 years virtually. Is that unprecedented? Almost certainly yes. Is that something we need to worry about? Almost certainly yes. Finally, literacy. In 1973, global literacy was 67%. Today, global literacy is 87%. Okay, that's very good. That's absolutely outstanding. Is that unprecedented? Yes. So if you look at this, has the world made a lot of progress in these areas? Almost certainly yes. Is this progress unprecedented? Almost certainly yes. Is the world going through a bit of a challenge right now on some of these dimensions like immigration, like emission, etc.? Almost certainly yes. But that is the uncertainty part that we really need to think about and deal with right now. Okay? But overall, the world's had unprecedented progress on many dimensions over the last 50 years. Okay? That's my first point to you. Next, unprecedented success. And to all of you, I think you deserve a huge round of applause. Qatar hosted a fantastic, absolutely fantastic World Cup. Now, when I was making this presentation, and the organizers and Rekha gave me enough time, so I've been thinking about it for a month or two. I have looked at every single article, everything. If you actually now go and put Qatar World Cup into a search engine, you'll actually find some article saying the failure of Qatar World Cup 2 weeks before the World Cup started. Okay, why Qatar will fail? Another 20 articles. Every single article to the lead up of the Qatar World Cup was talking about how Qatar would fail. Unprecedented, right? A country of 4 million people running the largest sport in the world and without a hitch. That's absolutely unprecedented. Now that is a huge, you are a huge role model for anybody out there wanting to do a sporting event of this magnitude. If Qatar can pull off one of the best World Cups, and you had the best final ever in the last 100 years. So sometimes I always feel, when you put in the effort, when you put in the hard work, unprecedented doubles, the joy doubles. when you do everything with your heart, the way Qatar did it, you had the final which the world was salivating over. Nobody could even write that script, ever. But that's the kind of thing that you truly achieved, which is absolutely remarkable. And trust me, it will be very difficult for people, very, very difficult for any country to repeat what you have achieved in the outstanding World Cup that you just hosted. Okay? Unprecedented success. Congratulations to all of you. Next, sporting records, okay, are unprecedented when they happen. Sergei Bubka, who's the first person out there, his picture, okay, an outstanding pole vaulter. He won pole vault event after event. He kept breaking his own record, kept pushing it. David Fosbury, when he tried the jump over the high jump over his back, was the first person to do it. Unprecedented. Similarly, when India won the World Cup in 1983, unprecedented. Rank outsiders, 500 to 1. 500 to 1, India were outsiders, I think 2 months before the tournament started. And they won it. Unprecedented. Okay? Major Dhyan, okay, 570 goals in 185 matches. Still nobody has ever touched it. Okay? And finally, Prakash Padukone was the first Indian to win the All England. Now, what happens when something like this happens in any country or in any region? It sparks a huge revolution. The 1983 win sparked a huge cricket revolution in India. Okay, next, the IPL harnessed it from 2008. And that's why India has become the cricket hub of the world. When Prakash Padukone won it, there was a huge number of academies, huge number of people saying, I also want to be a global star. I also want to go and play. Okay? So it sparks. What Sergei Bubka did for Russia, amazing. It just sparked a generation of women pole vaulters, men pole vaulters, all kinds of athletes. So unprecedented success in sport pushes the ambition of that country, of that team, to a new level. However, sporting records are also unprecedented on the other side. I am a Manchester United fan. I'm also a Barca fan. I did work with Barca, and Qatar's foundation sponsors Barca. Last Sunday, Manchester United lost. This is their worst loss in the last 100 years. Unprecedented. 7-love. Looks more like a tennis score, right? Not like a football score. But terrible score, okay? But I'll talk about it. Similarly, the Indian cricket team last year in Australia got out for 36. The point I'm making is, what happens to an individual, to a team, and the psyche when you go through an unprecedented loss like this? Many times when you talk to famous coaches, they just say, don't talk about it that day, talk about it the next day. Because when you've gone through an unprecedented loss, if you're sitting in the dressing room of Manchester United, it's best not to say anything. Maybe best to reflect on it next morning. Because the emotions of defeat and anger and everything at that point of time is huge. So the first thing about unprecedented when it is not in your favor is to keep calm, is to step back, take time. Now, I used to go to the British Open for about 10 years to watch, and I used to follow Tiger, Vijay Singh, Phil Mickelson, Retief Goosen, etc. So I was following Tiger Woods once, and he had a very bad round. And I was following Tiger with Hank Haney, his coach. Hank Haney and his wife were there. So after the bad round, I asked Hank Haney, what are you going to tell Tiger? He said, I'll tell you tomorrow. Okay. And next day when I met him, I said, how did the discussion go? He said, I sat in front of Tiger. For half an hour, we didn't say anything. We just didn't say anything. We just looked at each other. And after half an hour, Tiger said, maybe 11th hole, 7-iron was the wrong club. He said, when you have high-value talent, you don't need to tell them. They know already what's wrong. They know how to figure it out. So, in unprecedented times in sport, when things go badly, champion sportsmen, champion professionals know what's gone wrong. You don't need to tell them that this went wrong. They know instinctively what they did wrong. All they need is a mirror or a sounding board to say, hey, maybe you could have done it differently. So when we go through unprecedented loss, either in a company or in sport or in a corporation or in a family, the most important thing is grieve quietly for some time. Step back, Don't get too involved. The moment you jump in, when you're going through a bad time, your emotions will override the rational part. They will always override the rational part. Okay, let's look at one of the biggest unprecedented trends right now, which is social media. Huge. Andy Warhol said in the 1960s, if I'm not wrong, he said in a future world, everybody will have their 15 seconds of fame. Very prescient. Huh? He said this in 1960s. In a future world, everybody will have their 15 seconds of fame. Look at the positives of social media. Everybody has a voice. Each and every one of you has a voice, which is very important. It helps you build a network. It establishes your credibility in the area that you want to really focus on. And finally, you find new interests through social media. People like you, people who have similar interests to you, etc. Before this, you didn't have a voice. Your voice was either through a newspaper or through a magazine or through television. And it was dependent on whoever was running that media or the medium. Today, you have a voice. Today, you are a brand. Remember this. It's unprecedented in the world that you are a brand today. In some cases, individuals are bigger brands than their companies. You are a brand in your own right. It's a huge shift. Never happened before. Unprecedented. However, the bad is also very important in this case. FOMO, the fear of missing out, is a huge thing on social media. Next, nothing seems good enough. Everything needs to be perfect. Your holiday needs to be perfect. Your clothes need to be perfect. Your pictures need to be perfect. I can't tell you, every time I see people will say, let's take pictures. And a lot of people say, no, delete this picture. This is not nice. This is not nice. Don't post this, post that. Now people are saying, if we go for dinner, we go for an event, etc., the place must be what they call Instagrammable. That's the new Instagrammable. So people take 10 pictures in order to post one, because everything must be picture perfect, everything must look nice. Okay? It's a pressure. For example, teenagers have huge anxiety across the world on their looks, thanks to what's happening on social media. Okay? And there are many companies saying we will not talk to them in social media. And finally, there's a lot of bullying and trolling on social media. You know, you say something which is not in line with what the majority thinks, you get hammered and 10 people come down on you like a ton of bricks. So while social media has been absolutely unprecedented, it's been unprecedented both on the positive side and on the challenging side. Both have happened. Okay, so you need to keep balance when you have something unprecedented like this. Nobody knows which direction this will take. All I can tell you is every government will regulate social media. I said this 2 years ago in an article I wrote for Hindu Business Line. In the trends of 2021, I said social media will come under regulation. More countries will regulate social media in the next 5 years. It's an almost given. Okay? Because somebody has to protect somebody. Because nobody is protecting anybody right now on social media. That's the truth. Okay? Next, this is something which has been discussed. The European Commission has cleared, in December 2022, has cleared phone calls on planes. Now imagine if you're flying in Europe, London, Rome, London, Edinburgh, or London, Paris, etc. There are people sitting next to you doing their business calls. How would you feel? Imagine the loss of confidentiality when people are talking in a crowded plane. Okay. Will this be a nuisance? Will this be a positive for business people? Will there be some degree of control? Don't know. But this has been in discussion for about 5-10 years now. Okay. A few airlines already have it, but Europe is actually legislating it right now. This can be an absolute unprecedented one. Again, like social media, they will be good to it, they'll be bad to it. Both will happen. I don't know which way it will go. Nobody knows, because everybody is trying to figure out what type of rules that they must have for this. Okay? Unprecedented again. Private citizen space travel. Richard Branson did this. Jeff Bezos did this. And I bet you, in the next 5 years, there will be more people, more rich people in the Middle East doing this than any other country in the world. I guarantee you that. More rich people in the Middle East will take to space travel. Okay. Now, this is the first. Space was always the domain of governments. For the first time ever, it is privatized. For the first time ever. Unprecedented. Okay. There will be a lot of things which will happen around the space in the coming years. Okay. And I think it will be for the better. And I personally think a lot of research will come through this, a lot of new findings, a lot of new logic we will see through this. So, those are some of the examples of what is unprecedented that we are seeing right now. So, my simple submission to you, unprecedented is both good and bad. Unprecedented when it comes to sport or when it comes to positive achievement is a huge ambition for others to follow and raise the bar. Unprecedented when you go through a negative, a loss, a severe loss in sport or a loss in a family or a loss in a country, etc. It's best to step back and not to debate and discuss it at that point of time. Step back for a while, give it some time, and then regroup. Calmer minds are able to handle that better than hot-headed minds when you've lost something. Okay? That's my simple summary for you at that point of time. So let's look at harnessing uncertainty. The first thing about uncertainty that I want to mention to you is that cycles are getting shorter. In the past, you had cycles which are longer. A commodity cycle or something would be 10 years. A business cycle would last 6-7 years. Today, cycles are getting shorter. Everything is shorter. The academic is here. The average lifespan of a management concept is 12 to 14 months today. In the past, in 1970s, the concept of Iger Ansoff, the concept of Theodore Levitt, or the concept of any of the big thinkers would be for 20 years. Where is 20 years? Where is 12 months? So cycles are getting shorter. But cycles are getting more volatile. Cycles are getting shorter. If the trend was like that, it's now going like this. So we are truly seeing a challenge to harness uncertainty. Big challenge. Okay? And I'll talk about how you do this. First is, if you look at global debt is $300 trillion. Global GDP, as I mentioned to you, is about 100 trillion. That's 3:1. If you look at any balance sheet, people will tell you, if you have an EBITDA, debt to EBITDA ratio of more than 2, you are in trouble. Most people will tell you that. Most management thinking will not tell you that. Today, global debt is at 3. In the last 30 years, as interest rates have been low, okay, cheap capital has funded growth. Cheap capital has funded growth. Today, interest rates are at an all-time high in almost every single country. So cheap capital will not be available to fund growth now. That's the first thing which you can be absolutely certain for the next 2-3 years. Cheap capital is not available at all right now. Okay? Second, you look at, one of the things when you think of uncertainty is look at data. And there's enough data out there. So the volatility index, which is the Chicago board data, yesterday the VIX was 24.80. Above 30 is serious problem. India was 13.41 because India is one of the faster growing economies right now in the world, between 5 and 6%. Okay? So there is data out there. You have to pull different sources of data onto your table and map it and see what are the patterns, what are the connections that you make amongst the dots. That is what you need to do when you face uncertainty. There is information out there. Okay, but you have to pull it together. Somebody has to have the rigor to do it. A lot of people just talk around it, but very few people put it all together to say, this is the pattern that I am seeing. Okay. Oil in the pandemic fell to 0, right? Everybody wrote the death of oil, blah, blah, etc., etc. Why? Because at that point of time, there was no place you could store oil. Okay, because oil has to be stored physically. That was the challenge. So when people said now oil will be cheap for the rest of the life, wasn't true at all. Today, again, if you look at data, oil is trending 80. Oil is trending at 80. So where is 0, where is 80 in a matter of 24 months? The point I'm making is you need to keep balance, you need to read the data properly. Don't get carried away with one or the other. At one point of time in the 2008 global financial crisis, I think Goldman Sachs or somebody said that oil will reach $200 a barrel or some such horrible number. Okay, it went to a peak of 160 at that point of time. Okay, so read data carefully. Don't get carried away by the cycle of 2021 at 0, and don't get carried away by the cycle of 160 in 2008. Both are extremes. So in every uncertainty, you will be faced with extreme situations. The answer is somewhere in the middle. The answer is not in the extremes. So when people take the extreme view and bet their house on it, they tend to lose. Uncertainty is not the time, most of the time, to bet on extremes. Rarely works. Okay. Next thing which is happening in oil. Look at the trades in oil. India is the third largest consumer of oil. China is another big consumer. Oil from Russia in rubles and other currencies. Saudi Arabia and America had the dollar as the denominator since 1945. Since the 1970s, Richard Nixon, after Bretton Woods collapsed, came the petrodollar. Today, I suspect at least a third or more of oil is going in non-dollar currency. Now, if you just look at that stat and ask yourself, what does it mean to the dominance of the dollar? You'll have many options coming out. This is uncertain time right now on what's going to happen on currencies regarding oil purchase. This is uncertainty right now. Will the dollar diminish in its value or strength as a result of this? Maybe. Maybe yes, maybe not. But plot both sides and see what helps you, what doesn't help you. Is it something that you need to worry about? Is it something you don't need to worry about? Okay. But this is on the table right now as I speak to you. It's a big item on the table. Saudi Arabia is going to sell to China in the local currency. Never happened before, unprecedented. But a time of uncertainty to plot this. A lot of people are thinking around this. Okay. Job losses, unprecedented right now. What's happening in Silicon Valley, what's happening in California, what's happening across the world. Okay. You're very lucky in Qatar, your unemployment is 0.5%. Unemployment is very low in America too, the lowest in the last, I think, 30, 40 years. But you're having repeated job losses. So somebody moves away from one company, goes into the other company. Okay, so that's also happening. So when people have job losses, which is absolute uncertainty, you always need to look ahead. You need to reskill yourself. You need to speak to your network, and you need to evaluate your choices carefully. Same thing happens in a bankruptcy. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, all job losses, each individual needs to go through each of these things that I'm outlining. My last 5 slides. I believe 4 unprecedented areas which I see, and there's commentary both up and down on this in terms of which way it will go. And I think they'll play out differently country by country. I don't think you'll have the same thing in every country, but they'll play out different by country. So in Qatar, it could play out one way. In India, it could play out the second way. In America, it could play out the third way. The first is water, climate. It is estimated by Time Out, and this is an article recently which I read, that 15 cities, and these are the 15 cities, will be submerged by water in 2030 because they are the low-lying areas. Now, 2030 is 7 years away. Somebody is warning us, saying, you know what, we've looked at all the data, we've looked at the height of the waves, we've looked at climate change, more than 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees. If the tide goes up another 1 foot, this is what's going to happen to you. And those cities are Amsterdam, Basra, New Orleans, Venice, Ho Chi, Calcutta, Khulna, etc. These are the 15 cities. So what do you do if you are in one of these 15 cities? What do you do if you're a town planner there? What do you do if you're the mayor there? What do you do if you're in the government official there? If you look at the history of cities, all cities have been built on river banks or on the banks of an ocean. Why? Because most of the trade and movement was by water. Okay? Barcelona is an example. London is an example. New York is an example. Okay? When there's going to be climate change and the water level goes up, almost all these cities will be challenged. So each of these cities needs a recovery plan right now. They have to do something. Okay? Will this happen? Certainly, I don't know. Will we reverse the, the temperature climb? I don't know. But almost certainly the warning is out to say, if this continues, this is what happens. Now, why is this climate change where it is? The green line is the natural drivers. A lot of it is human activity. That's why it's happening. We have to control it. We are the people who need to challenge it. We are the people who need to take this unprecedented thing by the horns and say, hey, you know what? We need to do something about it. People in the age group up to 35, 15 to 35, are seriously concerned about this. Young people are seriously concerned about it because we are borrowing their future. We have not inherited this planet from the past. We are borrowing the future from our children and grandchildren. They are seriously concerned. Anybody above the age of 45 is least bothered, believe it or not. He's just not bothered. Now, unprecedented. If you want to book a flight, you go and book a flight, Doha to New York, you take 5 airlines, it will tell you the carbon emission that you're going to go through in every single flight. Look at the power of social media which is coming to the fore to warn you to say, hey, this is the problem. So the whole world will wake up to this fact. It is human and natural drivers which are, human and thing is really driving it, and we need to really, really address this. Otherwise, we are in trouble. Next, of the $100 trillion, the global GDP, 24 to 25 trillion is the banking and the financial sector. 25 trillion, 1/4. Most parts of the BFSI industry have been protected by government and regulation. The central banks have protected banks, etc. In an era where digital payments become the norm, in an era where you have central banks launching digital currencies, this will change. So the protection which was granted by central banks and by governments in managing macroeconomic factors will no longer be there in the future. This will be decentralized finance at its very best. And there are many countries which are off the stables on this right now. The horse has bolted already. Now for governments, it's extremely important that every big government has its own central bank digital currency. Otherwise, they'll never be able to manage their economy and the price of their currency. They'll never be able to do that. So this is going to happen. There are experiments already. There's 1 or 2 countries which have gone completely digital in terms of payments. Bitcoins has gone up, has collapsed, come back, etc. But the range of options in finance will go from just mere local currency and the dollar to many more options. This is going to happen big time. Okay? Each country, as I mentioned, will treat it differently. Next, and I think Max mentioned this. Where does patriotism end and where does nationalism start? We've looked at, or I've looked at data across all countries. In almost every country, nationalism is big today. It's one of the biggest trends across the world, nationalism. Okay, patriotism is your vote matters, concern for your country, do the right thing. Nationalism invariably has a us versus them bent of mind. Okay, you have regional blocks, you have global blocks, all kinds of things. Nationalism can be extremely positive if used well. Equally, it can be extremely challenging if used in the wrong hands. Best example of nationalism gone wrong is 1939, Germany, and what happened there. That was nationalism at its peak. Okay. So this is going to be a hugely touchy topic. Social media will fuel this even more. I talked about social media. Social media will fuel nationalism even more. It will not put water on it, it will fuel it even more. So one has to be very careful as to where patriotism ends and where nationalism starts. Okay? Again, country by country, you'll have a different take on this. Next, I call this Web 5.0, which is artificial intelligence, chat GPT, etc. So far, we would type something into the search engine and get an answer saying, go here, these are the articles, now go read. In a future world, you type it, you get the article itself. which can be ascribed to you, you can do what you want with it. Okay. So suddenly we've taken the thinking out of everything. Okay. This is going to be a very big trend. This is again going to challenge many industries we thought would not be challenged digitally. For example, university education. What happens to the role of the professor? What happens to the role of a teaching assignment? I give somebody a teaching assignment as a professor, he does a chat GPT and sends me a 20-page report. How do I judge whether that report is worth it, not worth it, etc.? And 4 people go to the same thing and I get similar reports. What do we do as teachers? What do we do with education? This is going to be a fundamental challenge. People and creative arts will never be impacted digitally. You put in a campaign and you say, I want the best slogans for this product and this is what it is, you'll get 20 options. What happens to creative thinking? What happens to connecting the dots that I talked about? Okay, the machine is doing it for you. Okay, this is going to be another big shift. Third, analytics. We used to remember phone numbers, we used to remember data, and we used to sit in a meeting and say, in 2012 this happened and this is likely to happen, etc. Suddenly you have an explosion of data and the machine can pull out patterns and dots much better than you can ever do. So all analytics is going into the Web 5.0. Reports, you can get, and companies spend tons of money getting more and more reports. And I always tell this to companies. Companies use less than 5% of the reports they have, believe it or not. There's enough information in your companies. I guarantee you, you use less than 5% of the report you have, I guarantee you. I give you a simple example. When I was chairman of PepsiCo, I used to do reviews with all the departments, and I used to do a review with the IT department. Suhail Guy was my IT head, a wonderful guy. He's with Max right now. So I asked him, Suhail, how many reports do we generate? He said, I don't know, Shiv. I said, okay, let's find out. So next meeting he came and said, Shiv, we generate about, some 90 reports or something. I said, how many people read it? He said, I don't know. I said, find out, figure out, what we can do to figure out whether people are reading the report. So he went back and came back next month and said, Shiv, I have one dimension. If there is a report and 50% of the people for whom that report was intended, they open it on email, then I would consider that the report is being read. If less than 50% of the people are opening it, which means the report is not being read. I said, I agree with you, good idea. I said, let's check it. Except about 10 reports, most of the other reports are not being read, except the daily sales report. So I told him, Suhail, let's drop 50% of these reports. We dropped them, believe it or not, nobody even noticed that they had been dropped. Trust me, it happens to all of us. We have an overdose. See, all of us want to be intellectual and smart and sound, right? We subscribe to so many sites for information and they keep coming, we don't even read it. Okay, so that's the real truth, reports. One of the good things which has happened digitally is governance. Every level, every country has benefited from this. Governance is one of the biggest beneficiaries of digitization. Whether it's land records, whether it's immigration, whether it's flights, tracking, whatever it is. Governance has got a huge benefit thanks to digitization. This is not going to stop. This is not going to stop. This will get better and better and better. And we'll find newer and better forms. For example, in India right now, you have the thing called DigiYatra. Okay, we have an app from the government called DigiYatra. What you have to do for that is, you have to put your mugshot, you have to put your identity card called Aadhaar, both. So when I travel, I tell the travel agency, send me my boarding pass on WhatsApp. They send it, and on this app, it says upload boarding pass, you upload it, picks it from your phone. Tuck, you upload it. I go to the airport with bag, without bag, etc. I just go into the DigiYatra queue. I just press the thing, takes my mugshot, I put my phone with the boarding pass or whatever it is in, I just go through. Takes 1 minute. Otherwise, a normal check-in line would take me outside the airport 15 to 20 minutes. Imagine, now everybody knows in the system. So people are actually saying, please check online. Governance has got a completely new meaning in every industry thanks to digitization. And you should also do that. While governance has got a good meaning, there will always be the outliers where there will be collapses, bankruptcies, etc. That fraud and that risk is something that you need to mitigate. So digital has to help you do that better rather than saying, no, digital was the problem. So in summary, I said unprecedented can be both good and bad. Okay, you need to look at it. Unprecedented can be a very good way of driving ambition. When you look at uncertainty, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Cycles are getting shorter, volatility is spiking much more, both up and down. I gave you the example of oil as one industry. 0 2 years ago to $80 today. Payment in oil, a third of the payments moving outside of the traditional dollar currency which was denominated for oil. How will this play out will be a very important thing for the oil industry. Very, very important. Very important for the Middle East area. There's a lot of information out there. I think ChatGPT, AI, etc. will have a huge impact on everything we do. Of the trends I talked about, climate, 15 cities are expected to go underwater by 2030. Okay? That warning has come up. Is that a red signal? Is that an amber signal? You need to figure out what you want to do with it. Okay? And in digital, it's a huge driving force. Digital currencies will happen. That industry which has been protected by the central bank and the government will no longer be protected in the same way. It cannot be protected in the same way. Okay, so digital currencies, central bank digital currencies will happen. Okay. To what degree of certainty will this help, not help, where will it help? Each of the 4 trends that I talked about will be country by country specific. Some will be global, some will be country by country. So that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'm more than happy to take any questions, any thoughts that you might have. That's my point of view on the topic that you gave me. Yes, please, go ahead. Excuse me. Water. Not working, you can speak it on, yeah. No, I said concepts, the life of a business concept.
So, in this uncertain world now, mostly what we will see that we have to do a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And how the organizations are ready to adapt to that changes so fast.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that. So, I used to run what's happening? Interaction. So, I used to run strategy in my last role. And to your question, I would say the old world of strategy, if you were to read that, and I'm doing a session for Economic Times on 15th on this. The old world of strategy was landing a 747, 300 tons, 400 tons, on a runway which was 10,000 feet, 3-4 kilometers. You took your time on strategy, okay, you got 50 people together, you interviewed people, questioned your industry, experts, etc. You took 6 months to 12 months, you formulated the strategy, and then you landed the plane. Okay? If you look at that type of strategy, there, all airline accidents happen in 11 minutes. 3 minutes after takeoff and 8 minutes before landing. 80% of the accidents, air accidents, are in 11 minutes. Okay? You have the luxury that it was 2-dimensional, horizon is clear, you could land it, and then run it for the next 2-3 years. That was strategy then. Today's strategy is not like that. In response to today's strategy is landing a fighter jet on an aircraft carrier. It's 3-dimensional. There's no horizon. The aircraft carrier itself is moving. You have one chance, you have to hit it right, otherwise you have to take off again. So strategy is becoming a lot more, while you have the guidelines and the regulations and the thumbs of rule, it's becoming a lot more trial and error. So one of the ways I always tell companies to manage little experiments. So I've given you some thoughts. Try little experiments to say, hey, you know what, let's try this at a small scale, if it works. If it works, scale it up. If it doesn't work, drop it. So in Nokia, when we were running Nokia in emerging markets, etc., we tried the concept of Nokia payments in 2008-9. not today. But the regulation wasn't there, the ecosystem wasn't developed. We could only pay electricity bill and gas bills at that point of time. We tried Nokia education, which was degrees via the mobile phone, learning via the mobile phone. We did this way ahead of its time, the regulation and the ecosystem wasn't developed. So I would say try a lot of stuff, okay? Try many experiments. If something is working and you're catching the trend, boom. If it's not working, this. And one of the things we need to accept very humbly is that failure will be as important to celebrate as success in today's world. You have to fail, but you have to learn from it. And I must tell you, there's nothing better than Silicon Valley. If you go and speak to those people, when you talk to them, I'm just amazed. They'll talk to you saying, look, I tried 3 startups, Shiv, they failed. Okay, now I'm on to my 4th one. They speak about it as a badge of honor. Okay, so today's times, you need to recognize that failure is part of the journey to get to success. So aircraft carrier, try a lot of experiments, whatever works well, boom, whatever doesn't work, bust, and celebrate failure. Yes, please.
Was during 9/11. Nowadays, the Black Swan events are so common now. I would say that every 2 years you have a so-called Black Swan event. How are we? Are we now with all the digitization? Are we now well prepared to take on Black Swan events, or is it becoming a way of life now?
See, I think I'd be very surprised if anybody said that you can predict a Black Swan event. I don't think anybody says that. Did anybody predict the escalation of hostility between Ukraine and Russia? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Okay. Did anybody predict the collapse of the SVB bank? Nobody. In fact, analysts were buying stock 48 hours before. Okay. So I don't think there is an easy answer. And that's why I go back to what I said. I think you have to look at many sources of information and see whether there's a pattern which you can decipher for yourself and your company and industry, if you can do that. Okay. For example, let's take electric vehicles. Does electric vehicle mean the death of fossil fuel? I don't think so. Okay, I'm not in that camp. Okay, all the work we've done, all the big economies will still need coal. We've come to that conclusion. Germany is now doing something in coal. You know that. So many people predict the death of something pretty early, but I think you need a balance. Some will work, some will not work. Black Swan, I've not seen any soothsayer doing that. However, having said that, the Economist runs, and there is this group called the super forecasters. They seem to get most things right. I don't know how they do it. So the Economist every year runs that thing saying, what are the super forecasters saying? So if you can tap into that group, and go to that group and subscribe to it, they tend to ask people who have knowledge and commoners. They seem to have a better sense than experts. Pure experts get it wrong, but the more layman and the more simple he is in understanding the issue, they seem to get the trend right. This is the Economist's answer. Thank you. Yes, please.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay. My question sort of slightly, doesn't work. My question slightly off key. You spoke about the radical changes in technology. The radical change in technology and how things are moving very quickly. And you gave examples of currency and how governments and central banks will ultimately, I think, struggle to be able to maintain that. But my question is, are we not underestimating the power of the nation states? Because when things happen in history, the ultimate decision makers, and it's evidenced in many cases, we look at COVID and the bailing of the banks in 2008, they step in very quickly and they take control. And there's no evidence that that's going to change. In fact, globalization, you could argue in some areas, is shrinking with regards to government control over many mechanisms. Particularly, I think you're absolutely right about social media. I think there will be huge controls over that. by governments. So my thought is that are we missing the understanding of the power of nation states to limit that change?
Great question. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for asking that question. My simple answer is follows. Think of this concept as a triangle. There's government at one end, or the country, state, or whatever you want to call it. Government, ruler, whatever it is. At the second part of the triangle is the industry. Companies representing an industry. Take an industry. It can be airlines, it can be technology, it can be food, it can be trains, transportation, anything, industry. At the third part of the triangle is the consumer or the customer. Okay. Now, all industry says we don't need government. But trust me, you need government to protect the consumer. Because industry, despite its self-regulation theology, cannot protect consumer. You need the government. Next, you need the government for regulation. For example, let's take a hot topic in technology today, privacy. Each technology company has its own privacy code. Apple has a different privacy law. Meta has a different privacy law. Google has a different privacy law. The country state will have to step in and say, this is the privacy law this country will have, and thou shalt follow this. Why? That country and that government wants to protect its citizens. It is their job. The government cannot abdicate its job of protecting citizens or consumers or customers to companies. It will never happen. Despite the best effort of industry bodies, despite all the good things that many companies have done, why does government need industry? You need industry for technology. You need industry for investment. You need investment for job creation. So this triangle will always continue, and the tension will always be there. And as long as the three people recognize that a certain degree of creative tension is good, when it becomes bad, okay, when one party dominates entirely, then it becomes bad in that triangle. Okay, so think of it as a triangle between the three. In terms of globalization, everybody loved globalization as long as their consumer prices were low. I'm going to repeat. Everybody loved globalization as long as the consumer prices were low. Why? Real price increase in most product categories have gone backwards in the last 20 years. A refrigerator is cheaper today than 20 years ago. A mobile phone is cheaper today than 20 years ago. Soap, toothpaste, you name it, every category is cheaper today than 20 years ago. But where did it go off the cliff? The moment a country started losing jobs to globalization, then people said, forget it. I love low prices, but I love my job more. Please give me low prices, but I also want my job. That's the situation we are in. So if you look across the world, whether it's Make America Great Again, whether it's Brexit, why is this happening? Because of job losses. Next, will globalization slow down? I don't think so. But I'm in the exception. Let me explain to you why. If you look at world trade is about $10–11 trillion export, $11 trillion imports, about 10% of global GDP. The top 10 economies account for 70% of it. So my simple point is they need each other. So globalization, the way we saw globalization, or the way the media stereotyped globalization was global branding, global standards, global this, etc. I don't think that form of globalization you will see. The interdependence will be very huge. For example, you'll need coal from Australia, you'll need linen from Europe, you'll need something else, oil from the Middle East. You'll need that everywhere. So I personally believe that you will have what I had mentioned there in terms of nationalism, you will have pragmatic nationalism. People will be very pragmatic about it, saying, I need this from this country, I'll take it. I can do this for this country, I will do it. I think people will get far more pragmatic, but the fork in the road or the tipping point over the cliff will always be job losses. That is the one you need to watch out for. People will love globalization as long as they don't have job losses. Okay? want to ask a question, ma'am? Yeah. Here, please. There's a lady here.
Ladies first. After this, we'll take one more question. With this, we'll.
This will be quick. I am happy that you included ChatGPT, which was launched only November 2022. And as an update with that, the academic sector already filed a complaint about ChatGPT last February. Because from the academic sector, some of the students for master's degrees or through doctorate degrees, they are getting some information for there without source, which is a plagiarism on their part. So I realized that, even artificial intelligence can do it for you. You cannot succeed in the academia. You will still fail because of plagiarism. And it teaches the new generation to become lazy and never use their critical thinking, which is very dangerous in our future. If we are always doing it easy, so it's not also good for us. So there's a pros and cons for this, and I am really just appreciate that you include that so that some of the people are aware that it's not what you get is always a true information without its source. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I would say that every generation thinks it is the smartest. The current generation think they're the smartest. 1960s generation called the baby boomers, they thought they were the smartest. Okay, so every generation thinks that they are cool and the previous generation is a bunch of idiots. Oh, that's normal. Okay, everybody does that. But I think you need to progress with the times, and that's why I say you need to be agile and adaptable and flexible. So companies don't fail because they have weak cultures. Companies fail because they have very strong cultures. They don't want to change. Henry Ford didn't fail because he had a weak culture, he had too strong a culture. So you need to have an agile culture and not a strong culture. Okay, and that's the fundamental shift that I think. AI is impacting every single area. Last week I saw on CNN, there was a therapist who has actually made a program or whatever you want to call it, an app or whatever it is, for an AI boyfriend. It's just amazing. Imagine AI boyfriend. The Beatles sang many years ago, All the Lonely People in the World. In the 1970s, they sang that famous song, All the Lonely People. AI boyfriend is a fantastic answer, right? So we don't know the dimensions on which AI and ChatGPT will go. But I agree with you that fundamentally, you have to have a mind which can think structurally. That's crucial. And I think whether it's your children, your grandchildren, your society, you must always inculcate in them that curiosity to think differently and not be, machines are very good, but you cannot be a slave to a machine. Okay, or whatever it is. And the best example I give you is airlines. The Economist wrote this. They said airline technology has progressed so much, fly-by-wire, sensors, radar, the whole thing. They said in a future world, and they are talking about 2030, they said in a future world, in the cockpit of an aircraft, there will be two people, one the pilot and two a dog. The pilot so that there is comfort to the 200 people saying that there is a pilot, there's a human being. And the dog to ensure that the pilot doesn't touch anything. Okay, so that's the level of technology that people are speaking about. Okay, so you should never be a slave to the machine. Okay, you must also use your structural thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Good evening.
Yes, please.
Overnight billionaire trend we had seen in the past. How would you watch it? And from first position to 10th position, vice versa. How would you watch it?
Okay, from the data that I have seen over time, there is nothing called an overnight success. Okay, that's a mistake. The media stereotype is that. Overnight success, within 1 year, unicorn, billionaire, not true. Every company takes 10, 20 years to achieve it, not 1 or 2 years. You look at any company, 10 years ago, Google would be doing what? 5 billion a quarter? Today, see, Apple used to do nearly bankrupt. Apple started in 1970s. Today, Apple is one of the most, the highest in terms of market cap, etc. It's 50 years. It went through its own cycles. So this media stereotyping is what encourages people to take shortcuts. Okay, and you should never do that. A good business, like a good career, like a good country, like a good corporation, like a good life well led, is a long haul. And Clayton Christensen of Harvard wrote that wonderful article saying, how will you measure your life? Okay, and I think all of us need to measure it, not just in money terms, but in terms of the contribution we make, not just money. Earning money is one part, but the contribution we make to society, to others, to the underprivileged. How much of the time do we give to other bodies which matter? That is how we must measure our life, okay? Not just unidimensional.
That was an amazing and stunning keynote, right? I forgot all my script after listening to the script. The next keynote speaker for today is someone everybody in this room knows. If you look at his professional experience, it's far beyond imagination. Professional expertise is something to think about. But today he will be speaking about Qatar's grit in leadership. Qatar's grit in leadership. What was interesting for me is what would suit in his introduction for this particular subject. For me, I took 3 different things from it. Profile. One is a man with high level of personal and professional integrity. Best suited words for a leader. His ability to translate reality into vision through effective implementation and cultural standards. Number 3 is, he is an author of a book, Country Branding, which speaks about an analysis of Qatar as a sports tourism destination. He is none other than Dr. Khalid Al-Kuwari. Put your hands together to welcome Khalid Al-Kuwari.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today at this 23rd Qatar Indian Management Association, QIMA Foundation, and to celebrate the 67th anniversary of All India Management Association, AIMA. I want to thank the organizer for inviting me to speak. And share my thoughts with you all. As we gather today, which we also celebrate the 50 years of India-Qatar strong diplomatic relations, I am honored to be surrounded by individuals who are passionate and dedicated to their respective fields, especially Dr. Praber Kumar, Deputy Director of AIMA, and Mr. Shivakumar, AIMA Past President. For this year's event, in managing the unprecedented, harnessing the uncertainty, I will relate this on how Qatar grit and leadership solve its own uncertainty by executing excellence. I trust that my insight and perspective will provide a valuable contribution to the ongoing discussion and help us all gain a deeper understanding for this subject. Qatar has shown remarkable resilience in the face of various challenges, including the COVID pandemic and the GCC blockade and the FIFA World Cup 2022. The country has adapted to changing circumstances, invested in the infrastructure, and taken steps to address the social and the human rights issues. Qatar and India bilateral Trade hit 15 billion US dollars by 2021 and 2022. The Gulf state hosts more than 750,000 Indians who work in various sectors in the country that contribute to its economic growth. Both signed several bilateral agreements in areas such as economic and commercial cooperation, investment promotion and protection, that include culture exchange and visa-related matters. And they also launched India-Qatar Startup Bridge. Qatar is the largest supplier LNG to India. India imports around 70% of its needs for natural gas from Qatar. Under an agreement has been signed both sides in 1990 to buy and purchase LNG amounting 7.5 million tons for the period 25 years. Qatar's key export to India LNG, LPG, chemicals, fertilizer, etc., while India key export to Qatar, copper, iron, steel, fruits, vegetables, etc. In year 2022, India was second largest export destination for Qatar and is also among the top 5 sources of Qatar imports. What is grit? Duckworth defines it, passion for long-term goals, but that's not all. To build grit, you need to have an ultimate concern, which is a supreme goal that is so meaningful to you, that is provide structure and discipline to everything you do. Grit is a courage who do best in the face of adversity and are motivated by goals much larger than themselves. Grit is the determination, self-control, extremely adaptable. As you will see, Qatar used its soft power to solve the crisis by turning challenges to opportunities. Qatar did not outcry and use grit to focus on its long-term Qatar National Vision 2030 goals and strategic plan. Qatar acknowledged the problem, external and internal, and used these as guiding principles to do better and achieving those goals, with the financial capabilities supports from residents and other countries. Qatars were able to fulfill its objective and make it happen. We should not forget, in June 2017, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE, and Egypt severed diplomatic ties with Qatar, closing land, sea, and air borders, and imposing an economic blockade. Despite the severe economic impact, Qatar remained resilient and adapted to the new reality, finding an alternative trade routes and sources of food and supplies. Baladna played import role, so as Qatar Airways. Qatar also continued to invest heavily on its infrastructure, including development of a new airports, seaport, and roads. The Emir, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, associated the Indian health sector for their huge contribution. During the pandemic, the Prime Minister Modi reached out to the other world leaders and called for global cooperation. In March 2023, World Health Organization reported more than 490,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with 688 deaths in Qatar. MOPH managed to administer 7.6 million vaccines. In terms of humanity, Doha Program of Action for the least development countries, LDCs, for the 2023 10 years, which aims to strengthen commitments between United Nations, the private sector, civil association, and governments The Emir also commits 60 million US dollars financial support, where 10 million allocated to support the Doha Program of Action activities for the LDCs. The remaining 50 million are to be allocated in support of the Doha Program of Actions. Outcomes and recommendation aim at building the capacity and resilience of LDCs. Managing the unprecedented also requires us to work together. We must build a strong partnership and collaboration across industries, sectors, and geographies to share knowledge, expertise, and resources. By coming together, we can pool our strength and work towards a common goal to create a brighter future for all. Qatar worked really hard to prepare for the event. Despite facing various challenges, Qatar invested heavily on the infrastructure, building a new stadiums, hotel, and transportation system to accommodate the influx of visitors. The country has also been working to improve its own human rights record, introducing labor reforms and improving working conditions for the migrant workers. According to FIFA, 96% stadiums were full with total 3.4 million football fans over the tournament period from November 20th to December 18th. US World Cup in 1994 was 3.5 million. Brazil in 2014 was 3.42 million. FIFA also said that it's the most organized event and the most historical event. Last country who also hosted as a sole organizer. Qatar challenged it. Excuse me. Challenge to the British with those challenges that Qatar has faced, but with one decree, they did 1,464 industry establishments operating and licensed were registered by the end of 2019, established for around 293 new factories, as per the ministers. The QDB, Qatar Development Bank, and the other institutions worked closely to keep the economy going. Qatar also was quick and responded to the COVID-19 pandemic by implementing strict measures to stop the spread. Worthwhile because we managed to bring all people together and what was written came true. So what is next? Qatar has done very well advancing in its economy in the past years, despite unique circumstances, based on clear vision. And the global, regional, and local dynamics will create more need to accelerate Qatar's national transformation journey, is of doing business, quality of life, knowledge economy, smart cities. The market is projected to reach value 123 billion US dollar by 2030. Qatar's 2050 transport plan alone anticipated the award of 22 new projects, and 2023 a total of cost of project 2.7 billion US dollars. On the health sector, $4.53 billion, that's including the expansion of Hamad Medical Corporation facility and primary care centers. Allocated budget for the education sectors, around 4.8 billion US dollars, that includes the expansion of development and existing schools and educational institutions. Infrastructure itself are allocated 7 billion US dollar in the budget, but that's according to the Municipality of Environment. According to PwC report, Qatar's global positioning today has set a high expectation to expand its brand and attract foreign direct investment. The GCC will most likely escape the global slowdown, given high oil prices and moderating inflation. As during the crisis, we supported local business and become flexible to our clients and business partnerships. I believe that it is time to reflect and renew, but most important, managing the unprecedented requires grit. We must approach the challenges we face with can-do attitude. Grit leadership is the courage you need to face adversity. Thank you very much once again for having me here, and I do really appreciate it. Thank you.
That was an amazing presentation. Next keynote address is about manufacturing through uncertainties. This would be done by a person who is the founder and owner of Coastal Group. He's having extensive experience of 20 years in the field of oil and gas, as well as infrastructure projects. When I looked at his profile, I was thinking what connects us to be today is, one thing which connects all of us sitting in this room is, we all sat on the chairs during FIFA, which was manufactured by Coastal Group. This gives him credibility to speak about manufacturing through uncertainties. He is none other than Mr. Nishad Azim. Put your hands together to welcome.
Thank you, and it's great to be here. And thank you very much, Mr. Shiv and Dr. Khalid, for the wonderful presentation. And just a show of hands, how many of you were in the stadiums for the World Cup? All right, so that's almost all of it. So that makes my presentation much easier. Right? All right, so we are going to talk about manufacturing through uncertainties. And just after hearing Mr. Shiv's presentation, I think the title of my presentation would be Managing and Harnessing the Unprecedented, and then Managing the Uncertainties, because we were able to harness some of the unprecedented. As you know, we had the World Cup in Qatar, which is common knowledge to everyone. And then as part of the harnessing part, we looked at, as a company, as Coastal, what is something that we can do? What is as a company, as a local company, what can we harness from this unprecedented event? So we made a list of products that we could either, as a company, we could manufacture, or we could supply or trade in. And then the seats was one of the top rated products that we found out. And then we looked at how do we make the opportunity or the probability of us getting this project to Coastal. And we decided that we looked at all the requirements, and we said manufacturing it in Qatar would give us that advantage. So this is how we went about the thought process of setting up a manufacturing facility in Qatar. And then, as you know, or as you may not know also, out of the 7 new stadiums that were built in Qatar, Coastal designed, manufactured, and installed 6 of the stadiums. Right? And then on the 7th stadium, which is Khalifa Stadium, we did all the VIP seats. On top of that, we did all the players' changing rooms, the lockers, the toilets were all manufactured in Qatar. And then if you were going to the stadium, while you park your car and walk to the stadium, all the high masts, the lights, were all of them manufactured by us in Qatar. So this is what we're going to talk about. How did we harness? And then, of course, we went through the tough part of the COVID and the blockade, which was the management part of the risks that came up with it. All right, so we had back in 2016, even before the tenders for the stadiums were announced, we set sort of a stage to let the market know that there is a company in Qatar that can manufacture the seats. So we had a tie-up with a company, European company, and we had a sort of MOU with them to transfer the technology to us to manufacture it in Qatar. And we had a press conference, and this was back in 2016. So I know that you've been all sitting for a very long time, and I want to revive your memories of the World Cup. So I have a small video. I think that would have sort of brought back some good memories of the World Cup times, yeah? So I just wanted to wake you up all and get back to those good times. So as you can see, we have these stadiums that were, we have these stadiums. These were the 8 stadiums, and wherever you find the C logos are the ones that we manufactured. And then you find the Forum, which is the Khalifa Stadium, is where we supplied the seats, the VIP seats. And only one stadium, which is the Tumama Stadium, is where you don't find the C, which we did not do. Don't ask me why, it's a long story. So just take you quickly through the stadiums. Okay, Lusail Stadium, which you all know. And you will notice that I put something on the bottom about the carbon footprint, right? And I think I would like to make a correction here that some of us who are above 45 do really care about the environment. So we have some numbers that we can show you down the line. And here, what you find is the Lusail Stadium, which was the last stadium that was built. And you can see these boxes. I don't know if this has got a, yeah. See these boxes here? The brown boxes? They're all beaten up and worn out. And there's a reason for that. These boxes were reused almost 7 to 8 times. So we made a conscious effort as Coastal not to create or generate any waste in the manufacturing process. So we had a zero waste policy, and everything that we used was reused or recycled, right? So I was just digressing a bit to make a point. Again, Al Bayt Stadium, where the opening happened, in the shape of a tent, or the Bayt al-Sha'ar. Again, many of you must have not seen this stage of the construction where our friends were part of the installation or the construction part, and Mr. Gulfar and they were part of the project. And the Ali bin Ali Stadium, I'll just take you quickly through this. Again, the Education City Stadium, this pitch is not done, the seats are done already. Al Junub Stadium, my favorite stadium. Again, the Wakra with the sea and the waves on the seats. The 974, the ones made of containers. Again, you can see that the construction is still going on, but our seats are there, right? So we want to talk about the challenges, right? What did we go through? What are the phases that we went through while we were executing this project? Number one, this was the largest ever seating project in the world, right? This is about 330,000 seats that we built. On top of that, we went through a lot of issues with the boycott, right? It was totally, what do you want to call, unprecedented in the negative way. There was no risk assessment that could have predicted this to happen. We had the COVID pandemic while this is all happening. You all know, we all went through it. And then we have risk or challenges associated with the project. So one of the things that you may not have noticed is that Qatar has one of the highest UV exposures in the world. And most of the seats that have been built are built for the European or the other parts of the world. So that was a huge challenge, which was something that we did not look at. And then another issue with that is that we have a very high fire rating requirement for FIFA. So they are opposing sort of properties. So if you increase the UV resistance, your fire retardancy goes down. So that was another challenge to come up with the right mix that was suitable for both fire rating and the fire retardancy. Most of you know about construction, multiple players, very dynamic situation, a lot of things that are very fluid, a lot of coordination required. The size of the project and the number of stakeholders. So we had 7 stadiums. Each stadium had Supreme Committee as our client. We had the consultant as part of the team, and then we have the contractor to coordinate for the installation. So that is 7 times 3, that makes it 21. Plus you had Supreme Committee head office, who was the contract holder, to be coordinated with. So we have 22 stakeholders that were directly involved in the project, in addition to all the government authorities, the ministries, the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Interior, all those other things. So huge number of stakeholders to manage. So how did we go about it? So before we go into that, let's step back to when the project was sort of awarded to us. As in any business, the purpose of every business is to identify opportunities and manage the risks associated with those opportunities to capitalize or make the best gains out of it. So we typically, what we do is, we do a risk assessment, right? Any project, whether it is a risk is, again, depending on the definition, it could be a positive risk or a negative risk. We look at the risk assessment and say, what is the impact and probability of that risk happening? So typically, for example, if you look at this particular project, the first number 1 risk is technology. We as a company, we've never manufactured seats before, right? We are not even a plastic company. We are a steel construction company, galvanizing company, but we haven't done plastic before. So technology is a huge risk, right? And we can, you're all part of management, so you can also come up with some ideas. You can start thinking, right? Second was machinery. We don't have the machinery. What kind of machinery do we buy? What kind of, which manufacturer, which country of origin? And you can go on. So there are multiple factors, raw materials, manpower, the regulations, and all those were the part of risk that we do. And they look at the probability of that risk happening and the impact. And then we do a risk ranking based on the probability and the impact of it. So for example, if you were to talk about a risk which you could talk as an earthquake happening in Qatar, right? The impact could be catastrophic. But the probability of that happening is very low. So when you multiply that probability of the impact, you get a very low value. Versus the technology of manufacturing seats which are capable of being used in a FIFA stadium, the probability is very high, the impact is very high. So that's among the top risks. So we do a risk assessment and identify what are the risks associated with it, and we do a risk ranking. And then we decide how do we manage that risk. So the easiest way to do is mitigate it, or you can another option is avoid. I mean, don't do anything, then you don't have any risk, which is not an option for us, so I didn't put it out there. Mitigate it is what do I do to stop this risk from happening? So from your risk ranking, the top risk, you go one by one and say, okay, can I mitigate it? Can I transfer it? Transfer is when you give it to somebody else. So for example, I will ask my partner to manufacture it for me. So I'm transferring the risk to him, or I accept that risk. If the risk profile is very low and it's acceptable, I accept that risk. But then if I accept that risk, then I need to have a contingency plan. In the event that this does not happen, or this risk does happen, and I accepted that risk, what do I do? So again, if you go back, we looked at technology. We don't have the technology. What do? We tie up with the company that has the technology, and we transfer some of the risk to them because they are also now part of the team and they're responsible for delivering the product. We looked at the raw material. Again, sustainability. We wanted to reduce the carbon footprint. We wanted to source as much as possible within the region. SABIC was the first choice. Second, what happens? What if SABIC does not deliver? If there is a risk that happens with SABIC or Saudi, borders are closing, what happens? Okay, we looked at Abu Dhabi Buruj as another alternate supplier. And we had both these materials tested and approved by Supreme Committee. And the testing process takes about 3 to 3.5 months. It's a long process. But we looked at all this probability and the impact and the ranking of the particular risk, and we tried to manage it. Similarly, the machines. We could have bought machines from particular countries that were 70% cheaper than what the machines we bought. but we looked at what is the impact that's going to have if I have a low quality machine. And this is a World Cup. Somebody has put their trust in us to manufacture seats for the country, for the event that is going to be a showcase to the world. And that's where the fans are going to be sitting and enjoying the match. Do you want to compromise on that just because of some seats or cost of the machinery? So we went for the best machines in the world. So as you must have seen in the video, they are actually used for manufacturing parts for BMWs and the Mercedes of the world. So we went sort of to an overkill to build that confidence in the public and everyone that we are going to be able to deliver. So when the blockade happened, both the primary source and the backup contingency got wiped out, right? We never expected that both Saudi and Emirates would, close the borders to us. So we started production. We bought the material from Saudi. We started the Wakra Stadium. All of a sudden, we had no material. And again, like we said, finding an alternate source and testing it takes about 3 to 4 months. So we had already looked at our suppliers from our partners as backups. We didn't test them because it was too expensive and it wasn't time consuming. And also the probability and impact in terms of risk ranking, we just needed to have one backup. We didn't go for a third or a fifth or a fourth or a fifth backup. So immediately we were able to look at alternatives. We identified the suppliers. We had Total. We worked with Muntajat. They were also very cooperative with us. And then we found another 2 suppliers. Again, we didn't want to have another problem with having a delay and then further losing that supplier. At the same time, even though this was an unprecedented event that had a negative impact, there were opportunities with it. So the first call I made to my COO when the blockade was announced was, let's start the lamppost project. Because earlier, we as a manufacturer, we have steel fabrication, we have galvanizing. We wanted to do lampposts in the country, but the competition from Saudi and other parts was so high that we couldn't survive. Because Qatar is a very small market, as you all know. We don't have the critical mass to sustain manufacturing. And anytime if you were started a lamppost factory in Qatar, straight away we would have competition that would have wiped us out. But this was an opportunity for us that now Saudi is closed. Our main competitor who's based in Saudi has no access to the market. Let's look at the opportunities now. Let's look at what are the things. Now we had an unprecedented event of the World Cup. Now we have an unprecedented event of the blockade. Yes, there are negatives with it. How do we manage it? But at the same time, how do we harness this unprecedented event? So we made a list of products that we could actually manufacture in Qatar, or how we could support the local industry in terms of mitigating this effort. So we placed orders for the machines for the lamppost, crash barriers we started the toilet cubicles, the lockers, and a bunch of other products we started manufacturing because we knew that these would not be available during this time. And also, the lampposts I talked to you about, or the high masts that were in the parking lot, they would have never been able to be done from a country from outside. Because we were given about just over 35 days to fabricate and install them. And we were able to do it because we saw it coming. We made the blanks ready even before we got the order. So it's all about looking at the opportunities and thinking ahead and trying to get into those opportunities. Again, managing project risks. As you know, during COVID, we had movement restrictions, right? Factories need people. They need to move from their accommodation to the factory. So when you have a situation when the COVID was just around the corner, we acted ahead of time. We pretty much moved all our equipment and the computers and all the office into the accommodation, staff accommodation. We set up our operations from there remotely, so that in case the travel restrictions do come in, we'll be able to operate. On top of it, we created a bubble within the factory itself. We set up accommodation facilities for the workers, arranged food for them so they could live and work in the factory without having to move around. And that allowed us to continue our production without having any impact on the projects. like we said about the approvals, we have 23 stakeholders which are directly involved in the project. We would have an item that would be approved on one project, 100% no issues. You go to another project, the exactly same item would be rejected. Why? Because the team there has a different opinion, and we started going through the cycle. So we got to the Supreme Committee and said, look, there are certain things that are common across all the projects. We do not want to go through this process of getting it approved every time. Anything that is very specific to a particular stadium, that we will get it approved by that team. So something like a safety or a risk assessment that's very specific to a project, we would do that. Then all the other common things, which are seed design or the raw material or the mix design, the structural design, all those would be approved by a central committee. So that took a lot of our project time away, and we could duplicate the same approvals from one project to the other. BIM modeling technology. You must have seen the seats, right? And you have all these patterns. So each seat is like a pixel on your screen, right? And if you look at the Ali bin Ali Stadium, you have a lion head. And this lion head is made up of seats, right? It looks nice when you look at it, but when you build it, it's not that easy. So you need to space every seat as a pixel in the system and know the exact distance between each seat for us to install it in the right way. So we use BIM technology, and that also allowed us to manage clashes between the other contractors. So like we had contractors who were doing the handrails. We have seen the vents, the AC vents on the bleachers. We had expansion joints. So all those were built into the model that allowed us to minimize the impact on the site. Close coordination, I think you all know about that. Weekly meetings, knowing when we are going to do it. And the event, what had happened was we were ahead of the project schedule because we did all these steps in time. We finished the project as per the original schedule. Even though we had all these unprecedented events, we were able to complete on time. The stadium wasn't ready. Some stadiums, like Wakra Stadium, we literally stored the seats on site for more than a year. So we had an internal meeting and we said, shall we delay our production so that the stadium is not ready anyway, so shall we delay our production? And we decided, no, we will not do that. Let's show them that we are capable of managing this unprecedented event. Even though we had all these issues, we were able to manage them well, and we finished the project ahead of schedule. And this was something that Supreme Committee used, that they were using us as a contractor to push the other contractors, to let them know that Coastal has finished their seats, and unless you give them the work front, they're going to come back and claim from you. So we were sort of like the bad people that Supreme Committee was using to push the other contractors. Material management, again, part of managing the situation. If you look at a stadium, if you look at the stadium like Lusail or any of the stadiums, they're pretty steep, right? You have 90,000 seats, and you literally have to carry all these products to the highest tier. So what we did was, because we were able to finish the project ahead of time, the cranes were still on site. And we were able to use the cranes to move the material up to these different tiers. Another one, what we did was, normally the sections, you have the aluminum rails and the steel, they come in standard sizes. Because we used technology, we were able to decide on the exact length of each row, and we were able to extrude them to the right sizes. So that allowed us to minimize waste, but of course we needed to have proper logistics to make sure that the right material goes to the right place. So again, we were able to manage in that way. So this is what we did about how we manage the risks that were associated with the project, and also looked at the opportunities that came with the unprecedented thing. Again, I'm just trying to digress a little bit from the actual system. And I think as every business unit or every business operation or owners, there is a accountability that we need to give, that we have towards the planet, right? And just adding on to what Mr. Shiv said. So because we manufacture these seats locally, and we tried to source the material locally from the region, wherever we could from Qatar and also but from the region, we were able to save about 445,000 tons of CO2. So this is equivalent to the number of containers that would have been shipped if we were not manufacturing locally in Qatar. Right? So on top of that, so we would have had 289 containers. So we actually reduced it by the number of containers to 261, right? Because we still had some parts that were coming up from outside. And we tried to source as much as possible locally within the country or from the region. But again, it sort of backfired on us in some way. But again, that's fine. That's a decision we made. And we'll again do the same. Every material that was rejected or had a poor quality was reintegrated into the system. So we had the opportunity to, or option to add up to 8% recycled material. So anything that was rejected was ground back and put back into the production line. Reusable packaging, as you saw in the picture, right? We reused it again and again. Sometimes it was costing us a bit more about the logistics and collecting it and putting it back, bringing it back to the factory. It would have been cheaper if we just threw it, but then we decided to do it as a responsible company. And again, in addition to that, as a company, we have galvanizing plants and other things. So we are all compliant to the European standards for emissions, which is not a requirement for Qatar. But we wanted to, again, take the lead and do the right thing. And under the project, all the packaging was donated or delivered back to the recycling plant so that it wouldn't end up in your dumps or in your landfills. And that was our presentation, and I just wanted to thank you all for being such patient listeners. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have. I know everybody's hungry, but yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is maybe around nearly 4,000 shares.
Yeah.
So what you will do again, what was your plan to import such expensive equipment
Yeah.
when you plan your business?
Good question. Right. So one is that the World Cup happens only once in the region, but stadiums are being built everywhere, right? So we're already exporting to Saudi, already exported to Oman, seats, and then the same machines can be used to make other products. So while we bought the machine, we pre-invested certain equipment. Like for example, you can make containers, paint, pails, and other things. And so we pre-invested in them. So there are accumulators that you need to buy. So they are already ready for other products. So we can change the mold, and then we can manufacture other products. Okay? Any more questions? No? Everybody's tired? Good. Okay. Thank you so much.
That was an amazing presentation, right? He has proved that more than words and actions, and we enjoyed those benefits. We harnessed that. With this, let us move on to the next video. Message or a session by Dr. Sitaraman, ex-CEO of Doha Bank Group. He will be speaking about converting crisis into opportunities. Converting crisis into opportunities.
What a joy to be an integral part of this 23rd Qatar Indian Management Association's Founders Day celebration. Dr. Nizar Kocheri, Mr. Salim Abdul Karim, distinguished guests, dear friends, and ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege. It's my privilege to be an integral part of this management association. And the subject which they have given to me is something which is very exciting. And it's very apt in this defining moment. We live in a changing world, extraordinary set of changes and challenges are happening. How do we manage as management executives? As a practitioner
practitioner of a financial service globally,
I will share my experience managing the adversaries to your advantage. How do we plan? How do we organize? How do we set a vision and mission? How do we ensure the values are coming in track? How do we ensure that drive and determination comes from the leadership? How do we make sure we give a balanced growth, as we call it, a sustainable value creation? That's important. When you run an enterprise, your shareholders, your customers, you have regulators, your society at large, you have your human capital. You have to make sure all are in balance. It's not lopsided. That's what management is all about. It's not a matter of pressing a button, pulling a lever, scanning profit and loss account, shouting this and that. It has to do with creating the happiness. And that's what the value creation of corporate management is all about. That's what I have experienced in my pursuit of wisdom or experience. When you have a clear clarity in terms of goals, vision setting, goal setting, aiming at long term, that's goal congruence for you. Aim at short term, you cultivate trees. If you aim at medium term, you cultivate nothing but extension of branches. But when you want to build humanity, you have to look at eternity. The values should have a social risk management as an integral part of it. You have to keep human capital in mind. They're the pillars of enterprise strength and character. We have to necessarily recognize they play a big role, substantive role in value creation. So human capital matters. Investment returns you have to produce for shareholders. And managing the business means managing the risk as well. Your market risk, your credit risk, your operational risk, your cyber risk with a digital advantage, and the risk integration in substance to make sure your business and risk are aligned without a gap. The alignment is vital for us to see through. Like an economy, fiscal and monetary has to align. The monetary policy comes from the technocrats, regulators, central banks. The fiscal comes from the politicians, the government, elected representatives. So essentially, fiscal and monetary has to align to have a stability for the country. When it comes to value creation for the world at large, you have to eliminate poverty, you have to bring in food security, you have to bring in universal education, healthcare, global warming and climate change. You need to fix it. We live in a planet which is much more futuristic and our children and grandchildren are safe. So countries level, continent level, planet level is not different from corporate level or individual, you as a person. You have a drive, you have determinations, you have adaptability. That's what we learn out of these crises. Ability to articulate solutions irrespective of the contingencies, come out with embracing the change and ensuring you have values which are second to none. So opportunities are there in every single day. Life itself is an opportunity. When you wake up, you have a fresh perspective because you're born today. You were in transition yesterday night. You're born. Nothing is permanent when you recognize and you become more compassionate. You understand the humanity with a deep dive. Understanding love will sustain the meritocracy. Being considerate to the unfortunate. And that is part of the corporate principle. It's not a charity per se. Corporate management is all about recognizing each other's problems and ensuring we shoulder each other. That's a team play. No individual achieves anything. The team performs. The drive comes from the team leadership, the positive energy as a team. When you inculcate, it becomes more productive, positive, constructive, and your engagement becomes more scientific, and you become a good executive. And that's what management lessons you have to learn. I once again thank the organizers for the invitation to me. Sorry I couldn't be physically be there on the specified date, and I am sure the conference will go well, and All India Management Institution is known for its value creations, and Qatar All India Management Association has been very productive and positive. I have participated in this endeavor time and again. I look forward to see you all very soon. Thank you once again. Wish you all success in your conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a nice talk. With this, we are coming to the end of the session. Now it's time to facilitate our speakers' guests. For that, I request the QIMA officials to be on the stage, please. I request Mr. Shivakumar, please. To do this honor, I request Mr. Nisar Kocheri. I request Mr. Max Tanon. I request Dr. Prabhita Kumar Das. Now I would request Mr. Salim M. Abdul Karim to do the facilitation. I request Dr. Khalid Al Khuwari. Now I request Mr. Nishad Azim. Now I would request Mr. Brian Buckley. Today, MC has been warned by the QIMA officials that you will not talk too much. And if he don't talk too much, then he's not an MC. But now I am breaking this norm, since we are on time. I'll leave you with a quote by Henry Ford. He says, coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. This reminds me a quote of myself. I say, people achieve great things, not only because they are knowledgeable or wise, but they take action. Everybody who spoke here, whom you listened on the screen, and many of you sitting here have achieved great things because you took actions. Now, after hearing all these keynote speeches, video messages, it's our choice whether to take action or not. Again, it reminds me of one more quote by Henry Ford. He says, if you think you can, you are right. If you think you can't, even then you are right. I add one line to it, the choice is yours. With this note, let us move on to today's next session is about giving gratitude to people who came here, who have put in their time and effort in joining our meeting and made this successful. Let me invite General Secretary of this QIMA, Shalin Victor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to stand here in front of you as the Qatar Indian Institute of Indian Management Association as the General Secretary. I'm really happy to see such successful people in front of me. And I'm really thankful to all of you for coming here today and being a part of this gathering. I should thank our inaugural address by Mr. Max, who has done a platform for all of us to listen and for the speakers to speak. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us today without invitation. I give a special thanks to Mr. Shivakumar, the past president of All India Management Association, the former chairman of PepsiCo, the former CEO of Emerging Markets Nokia, for his keynote address. In fact, I wanted to say once more, I wanted 10 more minutes, but I knew we are running short of time, so I just kept quiet. Thank you so much. It was very informative. When I thank Mr. Shivakumar, I should also think of All India Management Association. They have done a wonderful support for us. To have all of you here, they've given us a lot of advices. In fact, they have picked the right speaker for us for the day. So they have informed us Mr. Shivakumar is the right speaker to address this topic. And we are very happy. We invited him, he accepted him, and we are here today. Thank you so much, sir, once again. The president of All India Management Association, Mr. Srinivas V. Dempo, we have seen his message. A special thanks to him. He was very vital in organizing this event. He gave us a good support. Also, Ms. Rekha Sethi, the Director General, special thanks to them. I should also thank Mr. Dr. Prabir Kumar Das for being here today with us. And he was very supportive, very cooperative in organizing the whole event. He came 2 days ago and he was just watching everything and supporting us, giving guidance on what to do. And for the last 23 years, we have seen a lot of support from All India Management Association in whatever events we organize. I should send this message, a thank you message from Qatar Indian Management Association through Dr. Prabir Kumar Das to the leadership in India. Thank you so much. Dr. Khalid Al-Kuwari, a very well-known person to me, very friendly, I know him for a couple of years now. I'm very thankful to him for being a part of this event this evening today. Thank you so much. Your talk was informative. We knew about India-Qatar relationship we had, the grit of Qatar, in fact. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mr. Nizam Azim is, Nishad Azim, sorry, I'm sorry. Actually, he is a very well-known person here. You know, he doesn't need any introduction. I think all of us know him here for his success during FIFA and even before, and we are also looking forward to the future for you. And thank you so much for being here in this event, accepting our invitation. I appreciate it. Dr. Sitaraman, we all know him, but he could not make it today because he's out of country, and he said next time when we have an event, he'll be here with us. I would like to thank him for his speech, for his message for all of us. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I would like to thank Mr. Brian Buckley for his valuable presence this evening. I'm really happy to have you here, sir. Thank you so much. I should thank the Qatar Indian Management Team's core committee and all the members, because this event came with a short notice, in fact. I think 1 month is long notice, but for us it was kind of very short because there were so many other engagements. Every month we have some event for the core members, the core team. So this event we had to put extra effort to make it happen. Everyone in the core team, I would really appreciate them for their support, their engagement, and encouragement in doing this. So thank you so much to QIMA core team and all the members present here. I wish to call this event a success. Am I right? Okay. I don't hear much of sound. Can we call it a success? Yes. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to hear this from you. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You're all invited for the dinner. Dinner is served outside, please.